My name is Lauren Hayes, a 36-year-old single mother from Seattle, Washington. Standing in a courtroom that felt like it was built to swallow me whole. The air was thick with tension, the kind that makes your skin prickle and your chest tighten. My ex-husband, Nathan, sat across the room, his face a mask of calm confidence, while his lawyer, Vanessa Reed, tore into me with surgical precision. "She's unstable." "Your Honor," Vanessa said, her voice sharp and practiced. "Mrs. Hayes has a history of emotional volatility, unreliable employment, and questionable parenting decisions. Why should she retain custody of 2 young children?" I gripped the edge of my chair, my knuckles white, forcing myself to stay composed. Every word felt like a blade, slicing through the life I'd fought to build for my kids, Ethan 8 and Mia 5. The judge, an older man with a stern face, scribbled notes, his expression unreadable. I couldn't afford a lawyer like Nathan's. I was representing myself, armed only with a folder of school records, medical forms, and a few character references from neighbors. It wasn't enough, and I knew it. 3 years ago, I was a different woman, hopeful, employed as a graphic designer, with a small but cozy home. Nathan was charming then, a tech consultant who promised to take care of everything. "Quit your job," he'd said when Mia was born. "Focus on the kids. I've got us covered." I trusted him, not realizing I was signing away my independence. Slowly, he isolated me, criticizing my spending, dismissing my career ambitions, controlling every dollar. By the time he left for a better option, a younger colleague named Claire, I was broke, jobless, and drowning in self-doubt. Nathan filed for full custody of Ethan and Mia, claiming I was unfit. His lawyer painted me as a reckless mother, cherry-picking moments of struggle to build a case. They showed photos of our cramped apartment, highlighted my part-time barista job, and even brought up a single ER visit when Mia had a fever, implying neglect. I wanted to scream that Nathan had drained our savings, canceled our health insurance, and left us with nothing. But I stayed silent, knowing anger would only make me look worse. That morning, Ethan had squeezed my hand as we entered the courthouse. "Are we going to live with Dad?" he asked, his voice small. I forced a smile. "No, buddy. We're staying together." But doubt gnawed at me. Nathan's resources dwarfed mine, and the courtroom felt like his playground. As Vanessa droned on about my unstable lifestyle, I felt the walls closing in. Then Ethan tugged my sleeve. "Mom," he whispered, loud enough for the room to hear. "Can I give the judge something I found at Dad's house?" My heart stopped. I had no idea what he meant, but his serious eyes told me it was big. "What's that?" "Ethan," I asked, my voice barely steady. He pulled a crumpled envelope from his backpack. "It's a letter. I found it in Dad's desk." The room went quiet. Nathan's posture stiffened, and Vanessa's confident smirk faltered. The judge raised an eyebrow. "Young man, bring it here," he said. Ethan walked to the bench, his sneakers squeaking on the polished floor, and handed over the envelope. As the judge opened it, I braced myself for whatever was about to unfold. The courtroom moment lingered in my mind, but to understand how we got there, you have to know the years that led up to it. When I met Nathan in 2015, I was 26, freelancing as a graphic designer in Seattle's buzzing tech scene. He was charismatic, ambitious, and seemed to adore my creativity. We married quickly, and Ethan arrived a year later, followed by Mia. Life felt full, even if Nathan's controlling tendencies were starting to show. After Mia's birth, Nathan's charm faded. He insisted I stay home, framing it as a gift. "You're too talented to juggle work and kids," he'd say. But it felt like a leash. He monitored our bank account, questioned every grocery receipt, and scoffed when I mentioned freelancing again. "You're not cut out for that anymore," he'd say. I shrank, my confidence eroding under his scrutiny. By 2022, when he announced he was leaving, I was a shadow of myself, no savings, no job, no plan. Nathan moved in with Claire, a marketing exec, and cut me off financially. He rented a sleek condo while I scrambled to afford a 1-bedroom apartment in a less-than-ideal neighborhood. I took a barista job at a local coffee shop, working early mornings to be home for the kids. We survived on pasta and secondhand clothes, but Ethan and Mia never complained. Mia would sing made-up songs while I washed dishes, and Ethan would help fold laundry, his small hands precise and careful. Nathan's custody filing hit like a tsunami. He claimed I was emotionally unstable, citing my tearful calls begging for child support as evidence. His lawyer, Vanessa, twisted every detail: my late utility payments, the kids' worn shoes, even a school note about Mia forgetting her lunch once. They ignored that Nathan hadn't paid a dime beyond court-ordered minimums, or that I'd sold my old laptop to buy winter coats. Shame kept me from telling friends or family how bad it was. I'd ignored my sister's warnings about Nathan years ago, and pride stopped me from admitting she was right. The night before the hearing, I sat Ethan and Mia down. "Tomorrow's a big day," I said, keeping my voice steady. "We're going to tell the judge we want to stay together." Mia nodded, clutching her stuffed bunny. Ethan looked at me, his eyes searching. "What if Dad wins?" he asked. I swallowed hard. "He won't, buddy. I promise." But I wasn't sure. All I had was love for my kids and a stubborn refusal to give up. Back in the courtroom, as Ethan handed the letter to the judge, I saw Nathan whisper urgently to Vanessa. Her face tightened, and I knew whatever was in that envelope was something they hadn't planned for. My mind raced. When had Ethan been at Nathan's place? What could he have found? The judge's fingers paused on the paper, his eyes narrowing, and I held my breath, praying this was the lifeline we needed. The courtroom was silent as the judge unfolded Ethan's letter, the rustle of paper deafening in the stillness. Nathan's face was pale, his hands clenched on the table. Vanessa leaned toward him, her whisper sharp but inaudible. I held Mia's hand, her small fingers trembling, and watched the judge's expression shift from curiosity to something harder: disapproval. "Maybe anger, Your Honor," Vanessa interjected, her voice unsteady. "We haven't seen this document. It's improper to introduce unverified evidence." The judge silenced her with a glance. "I'll determine what's proper. Miss Reed." He adjusted his glasses and read aloud. "To Nathan Hayes, from Carter and Associates. Subject, Custody Strategy Plan. Dated April 2024. My heart skipped. That was 6 months before Nathan filed for custody. The judge continued, his voice deliberate. "This letter outlines a plan to secure full custody by demonstrating financial superiority and casting doubt on Ms. Hayes' mental stability. It recommends transferring assets to a trust to minimize reported income, scheduling supervised visits to document emotional distress, and leveraging perceived instability to sway the court. Quote, ensure she appears unfit without direct confrontation." He paused, his eyes locking onto Nathan. "Mr. Hayes, care to explain?" The room felt like it was tilting. Nathan stammered, It's not what it looks like. I never acted on it." Vanessa jumped in. "Your Honor, this is a draft, not evidence of action." But the judge wasn't swayed. "It's evidence of intent," he said sharply. "Intent to deceive this court and manipulate the outcome of a custody hearing." I was stunned, my mind piecing together the past year, Nathan's sudden generosity with supervised visits, his insistence on recording our interactions, the way he'd push me to react emotionally. It was all calculated. And Ethan, my quiet, observant boy, had found the proof. I looked at him, standing by the bench, his face serious but unafraid. "Ethan," the judge said gently, "where did you find this?" Ethan's voice was clear. "In Dad's desk. When I was looking for my sketchbook last weekend, I read it because it had Mom's name." The judge nodded, then turned to me. "Ms. Hayes, were you aware of this letter?" I shook my head, my voice barely audible. "No, Your Honor. This is the first I've heard of it." He studied me for a moment, then announced, "This hearing is paused pending a full review of this document and Mr. Hayes' financial records. Temporary custody remains with Ms. Hayes, and Mr. Hayes' visitation is suspended until further notice." Relief flooded me, but it was tempered by shock. I pulled Ethan and Mia close, their warmth grounding me. Nathan's lawyer was silent, her confidence shattered. As the judge left the bench, I whispered to Ethan, "You were so brave." He shrugged, his voice small. "I just wanted us to stay with you." That night, as we ate peanut butter sandwiches in our tiny kitchen, I realized the fight wasn't over, but for the first time, we had the upper hand. The courtroom moment when Ethan handed over the letter felt like a seismic shift, but the days that followed were a tense waiting game. The judge's order for a financial investigation into Nathan's assets gave me hope, but I knew he was a master at covering his tracks. I couldn't shake the fear that he'd find a way to slip through, leaving us back at square one. My focus was on keeping life steady for Ethan and Mia school drop-offs, bedtime stories, and small rituals like Friday pizza nights to anchor us in normalcy. A week later, I met Miss Karen Holt, the court-appointed investigator, at a cramped office downtown. She was in her 50s, with a no-nonsense demeanor softened by kind eyes. "Tell me everything you can about your finances during the marriage," she said, pen poised over a legal pad. I handed over a folder of documents, old bank statements, emails where Nathan refused to cover school supplies, and a log of his inconsistent child support payments. I explained how he'd controlled our accounts, drained our savings before leaving, and left me with nothing but debt. Miss Holt listened without judgment, nodding occasionally. "We'll dig deep," she promised. "This letter is a strong lead." Ethan was quieter than usual, carrying the weight of his actions. One evening, as we colored together at the kitchen table, he asked, "Is Dad in trouble because of me?" I set down my crayon, choosing my words carefully. "No, buddy. Dad's in trouble because of choices he made. You just helped the truth come out." He nodded, but his brow furrowed. "I didn't want to make him mad," he said softly. I hugged him, my heart aching. "You were so brave, Ethan. You protected us." Mia, oblivious to the stakes, drew a rainbow next to us, humming a tune from preschool. Her innocence was a reminder of what I was fighting for. The investigation gained traction quickly. Miss Holt called with updates, her voice steady but laced with urgency. She'd uncovered a trust fund registered under Claire's name, Nathan's girlfriend, with transfers dating back to before our divorce. There were offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands, unreported bonuses from his consulting firm, and a shell company in Delaware that funneled rental income from properties I didn't know he owned. The letter Ethan found wasn't just a plan, it was a blueprint Nathan had followed meticulously, designed to bankrupt me and make me look unfit. Each revelation rebuilt a piece of my confidence. For years, Nathan had gaslit me, making me doubt my memory, my worth. Now, the evidence validated what I'd known but couldn't prove. His abandonment was strategic, not accidental. Miss Holt asked for more details, dates of large withdrawals, his business trips abroad, anything that might tie to the accounts. I scoured old emails, recalling late-night arguments about money he'd dismissed as my imagination. It was exhausting, but it felt like reclaiming my voice. Nathan didn't stay silent. He sent a text, bypassing his lawyer. "You're poisoning the kids against me. Keep this up, and you'll regret it." The threat chilled me, but I forwarded it to Ms. Holt, who added it to the file. Vanessa, Nathan's lawyer, filed motions to discredit the letter, calling it unsubstantiated and obtained improperly. The judge rejected them, citing credible evidence of misconduct. I allowed myself a flicker of hope, but I stayed cautious, knowing Nathan's resources could still tilt the scales. At home, I leaned on small victories. A local women's shelter connected me with Ms. Patel, a pro bono legal advocate who reviewed my case with fierce determination. She helped me organize evidence for the next hearing, coaching me on how to present myself without sounding desperate or defensive. I picked up extra shifts at the coffee shop, saving for a deposit on a better apartment. Ethan noticed the change, his questions about the future less anxious. "Are we gonna move somewhere with a bigger room?" he asked one night. I smiled. "Maybe, buddy, one step at a time." Mia, ever resilient, started bringing home crafts from preschool paper flowers, glittery stars that she proudly taped to our fridge. "For you, Mommy," she'd say, her grin infectious. Their strength kept me going. But late at night, I'd lie awake, replaying Nathan's text, the courtroom, the letter. What if the investigation wasn't enough? What if he found a loophole? The final hearing was weeks away, and while the truth was on our side, I knew Nathan wouldn't surrender easily. But for the first time, I felt like we were fighting from a place of strength, not desperation, thanks to Ethan's courage and a letter that had changed everything. The final custody hearing in late March 2025 was a moment I'd both dreaded and dreamed of. I walked into the Seattle courthouse with Miss Patel, my pro bono advocate, by my side. Her calm confidence steadied me, her briefcase packed with evidence from Ms. Holt's investigation. I wore a navy dress I'd saved weeks to buy, its simple lines giving me a sense of dignity I hadn't felt in months. Ethan and Mia clung to my hands, their trust a quiet strength. Across the room, Nathan sat with Vanessa, his once assured demeanor frayed. He avoided my gaze, his jaw tight, while Vanessa's polished poise seemed forced, her notes clutched a little too tightly. The judge entered, his presence commanding silence. He began with a statement that cut through the tension like a blade. This court has reviewed the financial investigation into Mr. Hayes and found substantial evidence of asset concealment, income manipulation, and deliberate deception to undermine Mr. Hayes's custody claim. He detailed the findings: offshore accounts in the Caymans, a trust fund under Claire's name, falsified tax returns, and a shell company hiding rental income. These actions were not oversights, he said, his voice stern. They were calculated to deceive this court and harm the children's stability. Ms. Patel rose, her voice clear and unwavering. Your Honor, Miss Hayes has provided consistent care and love despite Mr. Hayes' efforts to destabilize her. She's maintained the children's education, health, and emotional well-being under extraordinary hardship. She submitted Ethan's academic awards, Mia's glowing daycare reports, and letters from neighbors and teachers praising my dedication. Ms. Hayes is the parent these children need, she concluded, and Mr. Hayes's actions prove he prioritizes control over their welfare. Vanessa stood, her argument thin and strained. Your Honor, my client acknowledges errors in financial reporting, but these were not intended to affect custody. He's a stable provider with a suitable home, his tone icy. Errors don't involve secret trusts and strategic letters. Meh. Read. This court is not persuaded. He turned to me, his eyes softer but probing. Mrs. Hayes, your commitment to your children is evident. Despite significant obstacles, this court grants you full physical and legal custody of Ethan and Mia. Mr. Hayes is ordered to pay backdated child support and will have supervised visitation pending compliance with court conditions. The words hit like a wave, relief so intense it nearly knocked me over. Mia squealed, "We're staying with Mommy," and hugged my waist. Ethan squeezed my hand, his eyes shining with quiet pride. I pulled them both close, tears prickling but held back. I'd cried enough in silence. Nathan's face was a mask of fury and defeat, his hands clenched into fists. Vanessa gathered her papers, her silence an admission of defeat. Miss Patel touched my arm, smiling. You did this, Lauren. You and Ethan. As we left the courtroom, the weight of months lifted, replaced by a fragile but growing hope. Ethan walked taller. Mia skipped beside him, and I felt like I could breathe again. That night, we celebrated with pizza and a dance party in our tiny apartment, pop music blaring from my old phone. Ethan drew a picture of us three, labeling it our forever team. I hung it above the couch, a testament to what we'd overcome. The victory wasn't just legal, it was a reclaiming of our family, our truth, and my belief that love could outlast manipulation. Nathan's shadow still loomed, but it was smaller now, and we were ready to step into the light. 7 months after the final custody hearing, our life in Seattle has settled into a rhythm of resilience and quiet triumphs. The battle with Nathan left echoes, moments of doubt that creep in during sleepless nights, memories of his cold control, but they're fading, overtaken by the warmth of our small, unbreakable family. With Nathan's backdated child support, I moved us to a 2-bedroom apartment in Capitol Hill, a neighborhood with tree-lined streets and a park where Mia loves to chase pigeons. The walls are still bare in places, but Ethan's vibrant sketches and Mia's glitter-dusted paper crafts are transforming it into a home that feels truly ours. I enrolled in an online bookkeeping course, rediscovering a knack for numbers I'd shelved during my marriage. My barista job at a cozy coffee shop became full-time, complete with health insurance that covers Mia's annual checkups and Ethan's new glasses, a milestone that felt like a deep breath after years of holding it in. Ethan and Mia are flourishing in ways that make my heart swell. Ethan, now 9, joined the school's art club, his drawings a vivid tapestry of our life, trees with sprawling roots, houses with bright windows, always featuring the three of us. His latest piece, taped proudly to our fridge, shows a sunrise over a hill, captioned New Day. Mia, at 5, is a whirlwind of joy at preschool, her teacher calling her a spark who leads sing-alongs and shares her crayons with everyone. They rarely mention Nathan, his absence a faint shadow rather than a gaping wound. He attended 4 supervised visits, each shorter than the last, his interest waning when he realized control was off the table. The last time, he left early, claiming a work call. I don't push the kids to reach out. They deserve love that shows up, not love that demands their patience. When Mia asked, "Does Daddy not like us anymore?" I knelt beside her, holding her small hands. "Sweetie, Daddy's making his own choices, but you have me, Ethan, and so many people who love you exactly as you are." She hugged her stuffed bunny and nodded, her smile returning as she ran to join Ethan's coloring session. Therapy, offered through a women's shelter program, has been a lifeline, like opening windows in a room too long sealed. My counselor, Dr. Lena Ellis, guides me through the wreckage of Nathan's manipulation, the gaslighting that made me question my sanity, the isolation that shrank my world, the shame of scraping by on pasta and secondhand shoes. "You didn't just survive," she told me during one session, her voice steady. "You built a fortress for your kids out of nothing. That's not weakness, that's power." Her words are a mirror, reflecting a strength I'm learning to claim. I'm unlearning the guilt I carried, the lie that poverty or struggle made me less of a mother. Each session feels like peeling away layers of Nathan's control, revealing the woman I was before a creator, a dreamer, a fighter. Ethan still thinks about the letter that changed everything. One rainy evening, as we baked oatmeal cookies, the kitchen warm with the scent of cinnamon, he paused, his hands dusted with flour. "I was scared to give the judge that letter," he admitted, his voice soft. "What if it made Dad hate me?" I knelt beside him, brushing a crumb from his cheek. "Ethan, you were braver than anyone in that courtroom. That letter was the truth, and you gave it a voice. Dad's feelings are his to carry, not yours." He smiled, a rare, unguarded grin that lit up his face, and leaned into my hug. "I just wanted us to stay together," he said. I held him tightly, marveling at the courage of a boy who, at 8, saw right from wrong and acted when the adults around him faltered. That moment, like so many now, is a reminder of the trust we've built, a bond stronger than any courtroom could break. Nathan's family made a half-hearted attempt to reconnect. His mother sent a card last spring, her handwriting stiff. "Wishing you well. Let's put this behind us." I tucked it into a drawer, uninterested in their tepid olive branch. They'd stayed silent during the custody fight, never questioning Nathan's lies. And I'm done with relationships that demand my silence. My sister, Jen, who warned me about Nathan a decade ago, has become a lifeline. She visited over the summer, filling our apartment with laughter and homemade lasagna. She brought gifts, a professional sketchpad for Ethan, a sparkly tiara for Mia, and the kids now call her Auntie Jen with unrestrained glee. We spent a weekend at Pike Place Market, tossing coins into a street musician's hat and eating overpriced ice cream. Jen's presence is a gift, a reminder that family can be chosen, built on mutual respect rather than obligation. Sometimes, I replay that courtroom day, the rustle of Ethan's letter, the judge's voice slicing through Nathan's facade, the weight of justice finally tipping our way. I think about the love that carried us. Mine for my kids, theirs for me, and Ethan's quiet heroism in a moment that could have broken us. We didn't win because of money or influence, we won because truth, when spoken, has a power that lies can't withstand. Nathan may still hover on the edges, plotting ways to regain a foothold, but his shadow is small now, and we're too rooted to be swayed. Our life isn't a fairy tale. I still budget every grocery trip, mend Ethan's jeans, and say no to extras like movie nights or new toys. But the fear that once choked me, the dread of losing my kids, of being deemed less than, is gone. We're growing. Ethan's art, Mia's fearless joy, my slow climb toward a bookkeeping career. We're a team, woven together by trust and resilience. If Nathan's waiting for us to crumble, he'll be waiting forever. I'm not the woman he tried to erase. I'm the mother who fought, the family who rose, and the future we're crafting is ours alone. Every night, as I tuck Ethan and Mia into bed, their soft breaths a lullaby, I know we've found something Nathan could never take. Peace. Hard won and fiercely ours.